Hi there. So one of the key issues that every student preparing for the CA examination or the ACCA examination is, how can I put myself in a better position in order to increase myself of passing the examination? And students across will be asking, what do I have to do? What must I do? And especially many students who have been victims of failure. In other words, they've written the paper before and they failed. And chances are sometimes they've written the paper 2 times, 3 times, and they still fail. And so there's some people approaching and some people asking, what do I really do in order for me to pass these exams, in order for me to go to the next level, in order for me to become a chartered accountant? Some people also have just one paper left in level 3, and they've been pondering over that paper, about 3-4 times, and they are still there. But there are things that you must do in order to position yourself in order to pass the examination. One thing you must understand is that each examination sitting is different from previous examination sitting. What do I mean by that? Now, the fact that the examiner did something, or the fact that you experienced something in an examination sitting, does not mean you will experience the same thing in another examination sitting. That means that each paper is different, number one. So each examination sitting is different, number one. Then each subject or paper is also different. Now, why am I starting on this line? I am starting on this line because a lot of students think that they can just behave the same way with all papers, with all examination sitting, and still become successful. But they do it and they realize that it's not working, but they still keep on doing it because subconsciously it has been ingrained in their mind that that is how it is done. So let me give you a typical example. So for instance, someone tells you that, oh, I'm learning public sector finance on my own, and I learned it. It was just 2 weeks to an exam. I registered and I did some learning, then I passed. Then you also sit down and you say, okay, somebody did it in 2 weeks, so me too, I can do it in 2 weeks. Then you also did it, boom, then you fail. Then you'll be like, but why? Then you do it again. Then another scenario is this, that for instance, somebody will say, okay, I studied audit and assurance on my own, so I will study PSA on my own, because they are all other things being called reading subjects. But you've got to understand that each paper is different. Each examination sitting is different. So the fact that something went well, the fact that you did something, the fact that somebody experienced something, does not mean you can also do that. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because these are the causes of a lot of students failing the exams. Because they think that all papers are the same. They think that all examination sittings are the same. For instance, now the CA examination, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana have changed their syllabus. So there's a new syllabus in place now as of the time I'm recording this video in November 2019. Now, this new syllabus has almost the same subject as there was in the previous syllabus, but content-wise is different. Examination structure is going to be different. So if you are looking at the previous syllabus, the way the examiner sets the question, and you are using that to apply in the new syllabus, then you're going to get it wrong. You're going to get it wrong. That is why I believe that there is something specific, something critical that you must understand when it comes to preparing yourself for your examination, as well as position yourself strategically in order to pass the examination. Because hey, at the end of the day, it is not about studying. At the end of the day, it is not about who taught you. At the end of the day, it's not about the school you attended. At the end of the day, it is not about the books you read. At the end of the day, it's not about even how many hours you studied. At the end of the day, it's about, did you pass the exams? Did you pass the exams? And not only that, do you understand what you studied? Because one of the experiences that I've heard as an industry person as well as an educator is that you go to companies and you realize that they say this person is whatever, is the accountant or whatever, holds whatever certificate, and you look at what they are doing on paper, what they are doing on financial statement, what they are doing on records, and you're like, did you really say Did you say that you have that? Are you sure you have that? So you are like, okay, how come the people going through the process, but they don't have anything literally in their head? It is for this reason why I believe one of the key things that you must use in order to increase your chances of not only passing the exams, but also positioning yourself in order to become an industrial person or an industry person and a business leader is what I call the success triangle. The success triangle. Now, I've shared a variant of this a number of times, but I'm going to dip in it here and talk about a couple of issues here. So I'm looking at how you can excel academically on the success triangle. Now, let me start with something. In order for you to become successful, in order for you to become an industry player, you must have a certain mindset. You will see that in every examination, in everything that I talk about in relation to how to pass professional examination, I always talk about the mindset, because your mindset is very important. The way you perceive things, the way you say things, the way you approach things, the way you conceive things, the way you interpret things affects everything that you do. So in order for you to stand out, in order for you to become successful, in order for you to become an industry leader, there is a certain mindset that you must have to be able to excel in this thing that you are preparing yourself for. I've met people who tell me that, Nhyira, I just want a 50%. Nhyira, I just want to pass the exams and go away. Nhyira, I'm just interested in the certificate. No. And these people wind around, and later on they realize that what they were supposed to have studied and take into consideration seriously, they are facing it in the corporate world, and now they are now trying to find out what was it, how was it. Yeah, we all face that one after the other, but the percentage of the facing and the challenges you face sometimes is wide for a couple of people. So when I talk about the success triangle, what do I mean? What I mean is that in order for you to excel, in order for you to pass your professional examination, in order for you to pass your ACCA, your CA examination, your SEMA examination, maybe you're doing your master's, MSc, whatever it is, there is a certain steps that you must go through. And this is what I'm discussing on the success triangle. Now, per my understanding and the way I have gone through this, I have used this for my high-end professional private students who I coach on a personal level intensively in order for them to prepare for the examination and excel very fast. And this is the approach I use, and that is why I want to spend some time and share this with you. Now, on the success triangle, I believe that there are 3 steps that you must follow in order for you to become successful. What do I mean by that? There are 3 stages or 3 steps that you go through in order for you to, 1, position yourself and prepare yourself for the examination and increase your chances of passing the examination. And then 2, in order for you to be in the right framework so that after you pass the exams, you can actually call things into memory and not being babacious about it. So what are these 3 steps? So you can see I have my triangle here, and you can see in the triangle I have numbers. So this is number 1, step 1, number 2, step 2, number 3, step 3. Now, if you don't go through your studies, you don't structure your studies, you don't structure your plan, you don't structure your approach to the examination, following these 3 stages, you are actually causing yourself a lot of damages. You are actually causing yourself a lot of harms. So what do I mean by that? Step 1 is what I call understanding concepts and principles. That is step 1, understanding concepts and principles. When I say understanding concepts and principles, what do I mean? Every subject you take has its own concepts, has its own principles. Every topic you take in every subject or in each subject has its own concepts and principles. So in order for you to position yourself, in order for you to be able to increase your chances of understanding, increase your chances of passing the examination, you must first understand the underlying assumption, the underlying principles of the subjects. Then you must understand the underlying concept, underlying principle of each of the topics in each of the subjects. Now, why am I saying this? Because many students skip step 1, skip step 2 and go to step 3. That is practicing questions. Many people think passing the exams is about practicing questions. You cannot practice enough questions. So it is not about practicing questions alone. So they skip step 1, they skip step 2, and they go practicing questions. But now this is what happens. When you are practicing questions, you realize that you've picked the question, you are solving it, but you don't understand it. You even refer to the solution, you still don't understand it. You read the notes, you can't make meaning of the notes. What is it about? What are they talking about? Like what? You cannot make meaning. Why? Because you don't understand the principles. You don't understand the concepts. So the first thing you do, the first way to start your journey in positioning yourself to pass your examination is not how many questions you solve, is not solving past questions, but first understanding the principles. Now, let me give you a couple of examples to contextualize this for you. Let's take a subject like financial reporting. When you take a subject like financial reporting, you must understand the underlying concept about the subject. Okay, financial reporting fundamentally covers a couple of issues like conceptual framework and regulatory framework. That's the first thing. Second, you come to financial reporting standards or accounting standards. Number 3, you come to single entity financial statements. Number 4, you come to consolidated financial statements. Number 5, you come to interpretation of financial statement. Now, be careful. These are steps. You cannot start with ratios if you have not done standards. You cannot start with single entity financial statement if you have not done standards. You cannot do single entity financial statement if you have not done conceptual framework and regulatory framework. So it is steps. And that is how I structure my subjects. That is how I structure what I do here in relation to financial reporting and corporate reporting. So when you want to start with financial reporting, the first thing you start with is not consolidation. The first thing you start with is not single entity. The first thing you start with is not interpretation of financial statement. I've seen this a lot where people are learning financial reporting and the first thing they start with is consolidation. When you do that, you are causing havoc to yourself. You are giving yourself headache. All right? You cannot start console without building it up. So the first thing you must understand about financial reporting is, number 1, conceptual framework, regulatory framework. Because from there, you understand the underlying assumption for preparation of financial statement. You understand the elements of financial statement. You understand the recognition of elements of the financial statement. You understand various issues about capital and capital maintenance. So that's the first step. Once you understand that, you come to step 2, the accounting standards. That is where double entry comes to be. So you spend enough time understanding accounting standards. Now, why is that critical? That is critical because when you come to single entity financial statement, any footnote you pick is literally an accounting standard. Any footnote you pick is literally an accounting standard. So if you are doing statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, doing statement of financial position, you're doing statement of financial position and statement of changes in equity or cash flow statement, every footnote you pick is an accounting standard. So you must spend time to understand all the accounting standards. IAS 2, IAS 8, IAS 12, IAS 16, IAS 20, IAS 23, IAS 33, IAS 36, IAS 37, IAS 38, IAS 40, IFRS 15, IFRS 16, IFRS 9, IFRS 2, okay? IAS 28, that is under consolidation though. So you must spend time to understand all the accounting standards. That's the second step. Once you've built your double entry, now why is that important? Because the examiner has stated all the time that the reason why students fail financial reporting and corporate reporting is because of the lack of understanding of accounting standards and lack of understanding of double entry. So once you spend time with understanding double entry, you go to the third step, and that is single entity financial statement. Now, when you get to single entity financial statement, it will be easy because when you read the footnote, quickly it will tickle in you that this is about IAS 16, this is about IFRS 9, this is about IFRS 5, this is about IAS 33, this is about this standard. So it will just click. And why? Because you understand the principles, the concepts. Once you do that, you come to consolidation. Once you do that, you come to interpretation of financial statement. Because many a times, depending on the way the question is structured for interpretation of financial statements, understanding of your standards can play a key role in the interpretation of financial statements there. So that is the idea about financial reporting. That you must understand the principles about the whole subject, how the topics are intertwined. So you don't get up and learn what you like. No, you must start with something and it follows through. You must start with something and follow through. So if you want to pass your exams, if you want to excel in your exams, you need to ask yourself, what is the overall principles, the concepts, the underlying assumption of the subject? Then you come to the micro matter. So the subject is macro, then the topics, each topic is the micro level. So when you pick accounting standards, what do I have to understand about accounting standards? Recognition criteria, measurement basis, disclosure requirements. When you come to statement of financial position, or when it comes to single entity financial statement, what do I need to understand? Consolidation, what are the principles there? You must understand the group structure, the net assets, the fair value of consideration transfer. You must understand NCI. You must understand group retained earnings. You must understand the treatment of provision for unrealized profit, intra-group trading or inter-company transactions. You must understand all of these principles, all of these concepts. That is the first step. That is the first step. Now, I took a subject that is financial reporting. Maybe that is okay for you. But let's take another subject, say management accounting. When you take management accounting as a whole, what's the laydown? Okay, number one, we start with the fundamental issues, like what is management accounting? You must understand the issue about, so introduction to management accounting, literally. Now, in that introduction to management accounting, you must understand accounting for material, accounting for labor, and most importantly, accounting for overheads, absorption of overheads. Very, very important. The 6 bases of absorption of overheads. So that's it. From there, you can talk about some contemporary issues like throughput accounting, environmental accounting, activity-based costing, absorption costing. All those things will be there. Then from there, you can talk about the issue in relation to financial short-term decisions, okay? Because when you're dealing with short-term decisions, a lot of the thoughts that you had there are going to be coming there. Then you come to budgeting. When you deal with budgeting, you can deal with standard costing and variance analysis, because these two topics are intertwined with each other. You can talk about investment appraisal, you can talk about performance measurement. So management accounting, these are how the topics are intertwined together. So you cannot start with issues such as short-term decisions making if you don't understand the principles and the absorption costing and marginal costing, because when you're dealing with short-term decisions, the marginal costing principles is going to be there. So if you skip that and you go to short-term decision, you'll be scrabbling your head, and you'll be just scratching your head rather, and you just be scratching there. What is this? You'll be chewing your pen. It doesn't make sense. So you must understand the principles there. Then when you pick each topic on the micro level, you must understand, what does each of the topics talk about? That's the first thing. That's the first thing. Understanding the concepts or the principles. Maybe you're writing public sector, you're saying, okay, Nhyira, how about public sector? Good, the same approach. The whole public sector, what is the concept about public sector? You're going to start with introduction to public sector accounting and finance. Definitely. You're going to look at the uses of financial information. You're going to be looking at the difference between public sector and private sector. You're going to be discussing the issues in relation to all of those things, the basis of accounting, systems of accounting. Then you come to regulatory framework of public sector accounting. You come to the role of key public officers, the controller, accountant general, AG, auditor general, and a couple of ministers of finance and economic planning, the parliament, public accounts committee, heads of department, district assembly, common fund administrator. All of these guys know their roles, From there, you can jump over to the issue in relation to public procurement. After that, you can talk about issues in relation to public-private partnership arrangements. After that, you can talk about public expenditure framework, I think PIFA, public expenditure and accountability framework, the public expenditure and accountability framework, PIFA. You talk about that in relation to that. It breaks down, it goes down like that because it builds up in that order. Once you deal with all of these things, you can now come to the preparation of financial statements for public sector organizations. This is critical, this is very, very important, and this is something that you must understand if you are going to actually prepare yourself and pass the examination. So in a nutshell, step 1 on the success triangle is understanding the concepts, understanding the principles of the subject that you are writing.